Okay, so today's guest for me is a brilliant one, somebody that I've looked up to for a long time. So his journey has come from the Crazy Gang, the first official Crazy Gang, all the way up to a full international for Jamaica. And now he's actually bringing the youth through at both Charlton Athletic and for England. So our guest is Jason Euell. Welcome, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you, brother. Are you good?
I'm all good, man. I'm all good. Thank you.
A Jamaican man, we like that, yes?
What's the Crazy Gang?
It was,
It
a
was a
nickname.
nickname.
It was a nickname.
It was a nickname given to Wimbledon at the time just because of their mannerisms, their actions, the way they were, the camaraderie, the stupidness they got up to, and that was known. So
Why you say they like you weren't in it?
no, because before my time, it started, and I was brought up through that from a younger age, and you just become a part of it.
Okay.
And it was one of those ones where I always say it was like the school of hard knocks, and everything I always say is it helped me become the player that I was, and it's part of the person I am now, just from the upbringing of being around that, just down to the basics of literally just being respectful to your elders. The environment you're in this is how we want things done. We're seen as the underdogs.
Yep.
We want to be successful, but everyone needs to play a part in that, and that's sort of how the Crazy Gang has always been known as.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Jason, just tell us a little bit more about that journey, obviously becoming a professional footballer, playing in the Premier League, and then subsequently getting to a full international.
It's that growing up as a young boy, just football. That was all I wanted to do. It was everything. I was very academic at school, but because I was too direction towards football, I let my academics slip. And with my granddad, from my mum's side, Barbados side of it, granddad.
It's the mix now, isn't it?
My granddad was very much about education, what you have coming at the end of your career.
Listen.
It's all about, he was all about planning long term, football, sort career, plan long term, get into the property game, have things to fall back on. And I can remember him, he wanted me to sit the exam for Dulwich College. And it was a rugby school. And I'm thinking,
Nah,
that's not me. But I was always very much football.
Is that because football was more common as opposed to rugby and you wanted to be a part of something that was huge?
It was something which was just always there. I always had a football, never had a rugby. No rugby ball, never had that. So it was always football for me. And just growing up, single home, single parent, younger brother, ended up having a foster brother, bringing him in. But I was always around my uncle and my other uncle. But main uncle was because he lived down south. I was born and bred from Wharf Road. He was South London side. My other uncle, other aunt were East London, but was closer to this uncle. So he was sort of that sort of father figure around me. So I was always around him at weekends. So that's where I'd always get my football as well. This is from an early age, always going with him, watching it. And it's just one of those things that I just loved and enjoyed doing, and knowing that's what I wanted to do as a career.
So Jason, I just want to ask you, you mentioned some of the organisations that you work with. You know, can you go into a little bit more detail about Kick It Out, for example, and Give Racism the Red Card, and your involvement in that?
Yeah, so with Show Racism the Red Card, I got involved with that. I'm going to show my age now. A long time ago.
Yeah, definitely.
A long time ago. They approached me as a high-profile player, black player. Spread the word in terms of where I was in South London at the time. Then I moved up to Middlesbrough. So I'm going from one diverse place to a totally different diverse place. And the main guy, Jed, is actually from the Northeast, and he's a massive, massive voice for racism. And it was one of those ones of going from there to there. And it was one of those ones where from doing it up there where there was lack of colour or less colour, it actually came down to London a lot more as well. And it was more that, it was more education. Theirs is directed a lot at education at schools in terms of letting these kids know what's right, what's wrong, not letting them be influenced by what's been said at home. You can't change all these young people's minds, but if you can plant the seed and get them to understand, he's white, I'm white, I'm black, there's no difference.
Because do you feel that a lot of racism comes from ignorance, a matter of the unknown? So if you're in an area that is predominantly white and you don't know many black people, then the way that you perceive them might be skewed by whatever you see in the mainstream media or on TV shows, etc., etc. So educating them in that manner and making people more aware of other cultures and such.
It's one of those ones where there's lots of, it's people that play the part. Media play a part in it, publications play a part in it, the social environment you're around play a part in it, the things that you read on social media play a part in it. And if you're a person that is so close-minded, you're going to go with that person who's going to keep telling it, so I'm going to keep going with it, I'm going to keep going with it because this is what these people are telling me. If you're someone that is like, hold on a minute, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right, that's the person or the people you want to be around who can accept this is the world that I'm in, this is the area I live in now. I understand that it's not just about the one main colour or main race, it's about everybody.
But do these organisations, do they do things such as utilise the system that we've got from a legal standpoint? Or because I speak to agents now and they'll say to me, oh, did you see what they wrote about this black player, or about Sterling, or so on and so forth. But then I'll ask them, okay, have they ever, with the amount of money that's in football, have they filed a lawsuit? Have they taken out a libel case? Because I feel like the media pushes that racism and it emboldens the fans. So if you're not holding the media to account, they're just going to continue. So with all the money...
Totally get that. And it's... The media play each other off. So, like you said, you're going to have one publication who's going to be very much on a certain player. Then you're going to get their rival who's going to try and, we need to do more, we need to do more. Why do you keep doing it this way? It's not about... So they're actually having an argument about who can sell more online subscriptions and everything, rather than the matter of, this person is actually being targeted, can't you not see that?
But has black footballers taken them to court before? Whether it's the team of the agent alongside the footballer, to sit down and say, we've got this amount of money, if we do this, it will send out a message and set precedents for the others to be able to do this.
I don't actually know if a player has gone to that length of a suing or a libel case. I don't know. I know that players have spoken up a lot because the power of social media, the access that they now can go on the phone and ring up a reporter that they know, trust, if it's from TV or, right, this is my stuff, pull it out. But in any walk of life, there's a lot of, if I'm part of this company and I start trying to chip away at that, they're probably going to take a little bit of food out of my pocket.
There's a massive issue.
Sometimes there's too much of, I can go to there, but I can't go to there, because if I go to there, I might start losing a little bit of money
these
from...
are quite young people in the main, some footballers who may have left education, gone straight into sport and rely on their team to tell them what to do. And I think there are agents who are culpable who say, do you know what, don't do that because you might not get the next deal, selfishly thinking about their next deal or their next cut from that deal.
So where we're at now, when you mentioned Sterling, is, like I keep saying, is the way that the game is evolving now. Before, players never had a voice. But now, the way the game is, players are now becoming a voice. Because before it was, if you say something, that's you done. But these
little cartel kind of thing.
But now, these players now are, I'm not saying...
Are big brands.
Yeah.
They're big brands.
Well, you just look at what Rashford's doing, he's at that stage now.
So they're not in a way of bigger than the football club, but they actually have a big influence for that football club, and it's that football club's the business. You take or you upset a Sterling, that's a big part of your chunk of business, money going. So the players that are in these positions now, they have a voice. Like you said, with Rashford now and what he's done, with Sterling, the way he's doing it, these are all younger players because these clubs actually need them.
So, Jason, what I wanted to ask was, when you look at the percentage of blacks in the UK between 3 and 8% of the population is black, and you look at the numbers within football, which are much greater. So when you look at the coaches, actually, the black coaches in the game, it's not representative of those same numbers of players. So why do you think that is?
It's lack of opportunity, and that is one of the things that we've been banging on about for a long time. We're okay to get on the pitch and be professional footballers, but with all the education we've had from the game, qualifications that we've gained from being in the game to wanting to become a coach manager, why are we not getting that same opportunity? Why is it the next person next to us who's getting ahead of us?
Are there players that you've played with or played against that you would call out as saying are absolutely ripe for that opportunity, but just has simply been passed by?
Oh, massive, yeah, because always comes back around to is the same silly, the same sort of discussion, topic, sentences. Oh, it doesn't matter if he's black or white, it's if he's the right person for the job. I could be the right person for the job, but I didn't get the opportunity to sit in front of Mr. Director and Mr. CEO. So why is that where we can both actually do the same role? I'm actually the right person for the job, but why am I not getting through the door?
Has those conversations taken place where someone has tried so many times, everyone in the industry knows they have, and they've now got to the point where they're like, well, no, I want reasons as to why I've tried and tried again, and you are not giving me that.
So again, this is where we're at now, and so I said with the group that we've now got is we've got people that have been in this same conversation 20, 25 years ago. And they're now having this same conversation with probably the generation under. And we're looking at it as well, there's the next generation. We don't want to be dropping it down that far, having these same conversations.
So if there's lack of opportunity, how did you manage to become a coach?
Yeah.
It was, for me, I just finished the game. I was at the start of my coaching opportunity, and literally my academy manager at the time knew who I was as a person, and this is a white guy, knew who I was as a person, and I'd only been around him for like a year, and said to me, would you like this opportunity? And I was like, yeah. I knew I wanted to go into coaching. Did I expect it to still be where it's at in terms of the numbers? No, 8 years down the line. But that is still my fight, and that is still my process to where I want to get to. So I got that opportunity, and with Chris Powell being the manager at Charlton at the time, it worked where I've had Chris Powell as a black manager, our assistant manager Alex Dyer, black guy, Damien Matthew, assistant manager, mixed race but of black. So we've got a first team staff of 3 black people with an elder white guy who's seen me as a person and gone, you are the right person for this job.
Isn't that testament for you though? So I know you say there's a lack of opportunity, but we spoke to someone recently and they said that a lot of the attitude, not all people, but a lot of the attitude of when the football career is coming to an end is not in the right place for them to excel and go on to become coach and manager. And you clearly have, so there is opportunity, but maybe you are the right person to tick those boxes for coach.
Yeah, but I hopefully see it as with and where I was as a player at that club, and what I did for them probably helped me as well. Okay. Because I was someone that knew what this club was about, and I can help them moving forward. I saw it as that's a way for my to start my next career.
Just my naivety, is it that you were just patted on the shoulder and said, there's a chance for you, take this job? Or did you have to go through a process? Because essentially, I think unless we have robust processes which are fair and transparent, then actually discrimination can keep happening.
That's a whole different discussion, that one. But with that opportunity there, my decision was, because I just, contract had finished, so I was out of contract. I got the decision, well, the opportunity was, you can come into coaching, my mindset was I still want to keep playing. So I had to make a decision of, do I look to continue my football career at 35, maybe for another 2-3 years, maybe, or do I now go into this? So with that job opportunity that came to me, it was the start of the whole new academy setup. And it was, right, this is where you are in your coaching. We've seen what you're like as a person. We want to give you the job, but this is what we're going to need.
Because even at that age, would playing actually have been more lucrative as well? So, for example, say you've got a 2-year deal somewhere rather than being in the academy system.
So the salary that I got was never going to be anything like...
As a coach?
It was never going to be anything like a player. But then, doing the under-16s, a year later, the manager who's doing the 23s left, went to Brighton. I then got given it on like a caretaker basis, but then I had to go through the protocols of interview, we're putting the CV, even though they knew who I was, even though I'm an employee at the club, so I had to apply for the job like anyone else.
And that was for the later opportunity?
Yeah, for the 23s where I'm at now, yeah.
Okay, so but the initial one, you got to tap on the shoulder and
I see
said,
what
you're
you
in,
mean,
come in.
It could be biased, couldn't it?
Correct.
It could be just basically, I like you, but someone else might not have liked you.
Yeah, it could have been that. But
So-
where it was two people, where it was, I get 2 likes, I don't mind that because I'm getting an opportunity.
But
Yeah.
do you see what I mean? That if you were on the outside now and there was a white guy sitting next to you and the coach said, do you know what, I like Johnny.
Just because I like his personality. I like how he moves.
Johnny's my guy.
Yeah,
and you're like, but bruv, I've done all my stuff, what are you talking about? And you don't get it. What's the first thing you're going to say? It's racist.
They said with that opportunity there, it was, in terms, like I said earlier, I'm coming in as you're someone who's at the club. We see you as someone that can help our club moving forward. I've got a guy there who's gone, yep, you can be coachable.
Yep.
You can be given that sort of mentoring stuff or mentorship from them to help evolve me. And I'm looking at, I've got Chris Powell, as we all know.
Yeah.
I'm looking at him and saying he's probably putting a word in for me. He's the right guy for it. This is where he is in his coaching.
Yep.
I don't know in terms of what other people interviewed for that role. It was, there's an opportunity for you, Jay.
And you're going to take it. You're never going to say no. And you've obviously proven, given what you've gone on to do and the success you've had, you were the right guy for the job. So I think that's a given. And I think it's interesting to look at it from that angle.
Yeah, and I went through the interview process for the job I was caretaker manager for, eventually getting it.
Yep.
Now, because it's an internal role, I probably had a greater opportunity to probably go in for a job as an external person applying for it, which is where we're finding.
What attributes do you need that would differ from a footballer to a coach? Because like you said, as a footballer, you have really good skills to know how to go on and coach. But what differs in terms of key things you need to be a coach?
You have to transfer all of your footballing experience, the games you've been through, on field, off field. You have to now transfer that to a verbal way to players to then replicate on the grass. And there is a certain skill way of doing that. And there are some people that can't transfer that because we can talk, as you'll know, there's a football talk, a way of putting something across, and you'll get people going,
what?
Got no idea what he's talking about.
It's a different language altogether.
It's a different language altogether. There is a skill set of transferring it. Every player or every person learns differently.
Test us.
So you could be a really good footballer, but a crap coach.
Yeah. Because
And has that happened where someone tried?
Yeah, there's loads of examples of that.
There's a lot of people always think
They'll get the badges, but they're not the guy.
sometimes it's not even, sometimes even before they even go for badges, a lot of people sometimes see it as because they've been a great player, they will become a great.
They should become a coach.
But again, it's how you transfer it. And some people don't know how to transfer it into making it work for those individuals that they're coaching.
When did England come knocking? Because the English game has evolved and the way it's been structured. When did your involvement with that kick in?
That was from 2 seasons ago, so now entering my 3rd year working with England. And I went with the under-18s first 2 years ago. And that opportunity came around really of me knowing the head of development at the time we were both at Southampton. He was now in a role at the FA. And when I was doing one of my, I can't remember which coaching course it was, which qualification, I was up at St George's over probably like 2.5 years doing different qualifications. So I'm always bumping into people at the FA and seeing how this whole new England DNA is evolving. And I just sort of threw a word into him to sort of say is an opportunity to come and watch one of the age groups on the training camp, see what it's like from the difference from a day-to-day club environment to international. Like, let me know if there's any chance. Yeah, no, brilliant. And he actually said we're looking of changing the structure and the setup at the FA and bringing coaches in that are at clubs to bring them into the new structure. Within 3-4 weeks, I got a call from somebody else to say, look, this is what the FA is looking to do. I know you've had a conversation with X, but we feel there's a role for you here, so can you apply for it? So I had to go through the interview process of the title of an out-of-possession coach. So that entailed my interview of getting a video clip of a game, taking something from the game and putting on a training session from what I saw, having to do a 30-minute presentation, and then I had to do a life story. They said to me, pick out 4 or 5 moments from your life where you see it as a bit of adversity, something in terms of what's happened, how did you feel from it, how did you react to it.
Where's the relevance there? I struggle to understand. You know, you've had a successful football career. You're already in a position where you're coaching and developing young players. Excuse me. And now, and they're asking you about, you know, a life story in there. Where does that fit into that bigger picture?
I think it was because of the way that I think organisations are run now. There is a lot more of probably not so much just seeing about the nice side or what you're coaching like. I think they want to see the other side of it. They
Did you
wanna know
sugarcoat any of that other side? So when you, being aware that you were in a sort of interview position...
No, I was being straight.
Yeah, also you didn't think I better not say this part of my life any of the depressing parts?
I was being straight with it, because with you saying sugarcoating, that's me not being real to myself. And
should you always be real to yourself though? Because couldn't some people's reality
can hinder
and give a perception to the people like he's not going to be able to hack this. Look at all that drama that happened in his life.
No, your best version of yourself though.
I the things that I put in there is in a way of this happened to me. This is how I dealt with it. This has happened to me. Didn't deal with it greatly, but I've come back from it. So when I say I'm being honest in terms of I don't want to come across like someone who I'm not. So if something happened to me and I crumbled, I'm not going to go and flip it and go, this happened to me, but I batted it off. No, because ultimately that will get found out. And like you said, if I was being too honest and it did hinder me, would it stop me again? No.
What was one of the things that you said that was your hardest moments?
One of the things that I put down was, well, it's 2 things. 2 things which are not at all afraid to say. One was 2001. And this comes from like a high and a low within just like that. 2001. Playing a game on a Monday night live on Sky against West Ham, scored 2 goals, we draw 4-4. Next afternoon, it's my wife now, but it's my girlfriend at the time, goes into labour. Within 12 hours, we're having a stillborn. So it's you get that from 24 hours, 48 hours before that, scoring 2 goals on Sky to that time there.
How did you go and play your next game?
I got told to have some time off. Yeah. I had some time off, and then it was go back to work. And one of the things from, in a weird way, was my manager said to me, when I came in one day, the manager went to me, just go on a treadmill. He said, just go and run. I said, I don't like treadmills.
Was that insensitive, do you think? You've just lost your baby and he's telling you to go on a
this
treadmill?
is sort of like a
rest.
week and a half, 2 weeks after I've sort of just come back in.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's go and run on the treadmill. Didn't want to have a conversation. He said, how you doing? I went, oh, I'm good. Go and run on the treadmill. I'm like, I don't like a treadmill. You're not going anywhere. Just go and run on the treadmill.
I hate the treadmill.
And he's on I was on the treadmill for probably about an hour, but didn't even know it. And what I was thinking at the time, I've got no idea. But whatever it was, it sort of came out.
Exercise it, yeah.
And got back playing 3 or 4 days after that. And by that time, it was in the news, obviously, of why I'd missed
Not
the
being
game.
there.
They asked, are you happy for that? I'm like, yeah, because it's not...
Did you
something
talk about that loss at the time? Did you talk about that grief?
Yeah, because it was something that not only happened to me, it happens to others. And
So they can hear that story
they can hear
and
that
take
coming
something
from me,
it.
someone who's in spotlight, limelight. I am human like everybody else. We sometimes get disregarded as footballers of being human or
Human,
having
Yeah.
empathy or anything like that.
The stuff that goes on in the
Yeah.
real world.
Yeah.
Did it affect your football?
It didn't, no. I mean, I came back and there was a lot of support from my own fans, other fans, and the players, obviously. It was a way of taking my mind off of it, but it's never going to go away. And it's not gone away even
never
up to
does.
now. She would have been 19 next month. So it's still something that you go through, but it's something where it's, okay, this is happening to me, how do I then go from it? So I was happy to say that.
Yeah.
And the second one was in 2011, I had to go through bankruptcy. So with that was starting a business with someone who I thought was a friend. It didn't work out. I'm the one that has to foot the bill for it.
Was there some fraud around that?
Yeah, there was some fraud
What
involved.
happened? How was you targeted in a fraudulent way?
Legal brain come out, innit?
I'll put it this way, some things were done without my permission, which I then found out, but the time had elapsed,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was, now has to be
Now
paid
to pay back.
for the amounts that
You
was
didn't
needed
know
at that
about.
time,
Yeah.
didn't know about it, couldn't be done in the way that it needs to be done, so I had to end up
Filing for bankruptcy.
apply for bankruptcy. How I've come out of the other side is I'm still in a very good financial position,
Yep.
long term,
Yeah.
knowing the game that I'm in, where at the moment I'm in a nice, safe job in the academy side of
Yep.
it. It's only if you do something stupid,
You're
you
gonna
can
come
find
out.
yourself being sacked. I know I want to go into the first team game where it's going to be higher fire.
It's
you could be out of
hiring,
the job.
firing, yeah, for fun.
Short term, long term, that we're still in a good financial position that if that time comes and I'm into that environment, we'll be okay.
But it's important that you can show that people can come out the other side of that, because people think that that's the end of the world. And it's devastating because it's a personal thing. You're very vulnerable in those circumstances. People judge you. But I think particularly from a male perspective, within football, a very alpha-driven space where the assumptions around money are really strong.
Yeah.
And they have to come and they're out in the open. You can't even hide it. do you know what I mean?
Did the club provide support? Because I know like mental health is such a huge thing in
They
football
didn't give them
now.
no money.
Did they?
Yeah, or a new deal.
Well, what was the
No,
support
the club-
mechanism to deal with that?
You know what the hardest thing was when it did occur, I was up in Blackpool at the time and the family was down south, so I was by myself a lot of the time. So that was hard to deal with. I was
Yeah.
going through a lot of it myself at the time. And it was difficult to try and even get to sleep at night because it's just constant worry, constant worry, constant worry.
So you went through two huge things that with many people, maybe they wouldn't have been able to come back from that, the passing of your initial child and bankruptcy. So what is in place, or even you as a coach, what's being provided to a lot of young players for them to deal with mental health issues or those catastrophes in their life?
So with me, I'm in a strange, for someone who's a coach and manager who talks loads, that's what you do.
That's what you do.
But when certain things happen to me, I don't talk. It's not bottling it up. It's some things I could just forget, ignore. If I need to say something, I'll say it. But I'm more in a way of I'm just happy just to try and deal with it myself.
Is that really dealing with it though?
But
when
it's
you
not,
just
no,
yeah.
it's not.
Swallowing it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a
Comes
lot
out
of the
later.
time, so I've been compared to my uncle a lot because he's very similar. And I think I've taken those traits from him, and the one of always looking to help sometimes too many people, not in a horrible way, but sometimes it's going out your way too much. So sometimes there's got to be that.
The charity
There's
start
no
home
point,
thing,
there's no problem and no harm in doing it. But I went through it, got through it. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do to try and do it by yourself. I think it's who I am is how I got through
works
it,
for you.
and with the support network as well.
What advice would you give somebody, you know, going through a very similar situation or any other situation?
And not
that-
just footballers.
It's not
Yeah,
football,
just in life.
I pick up the phone. Just even if it's someone that you haven't spoken to for a long time, and you're thinking that, what are they going to react to me? Just at least let somebody know. It's making someone
Talk.
aware of how you're feeling.
Something
We
with
know that
rubbish
within
and
this day and age, communication isn't a thing now. So even if you text up, it's just letting someone know if it's, he said social media, Snapchat and Instagram, text them.
Yeah, but if you get them blue ticks and then they still don't come back, that's your crush.
But it's at least...
Just let off your whole life story in
but
your
at least
WhatsApp
it's-
group.
But it's in a way you're still making people know.
Yeah.
Yes, and
that's
you've
cool.
exercised it.
And expressing yourself.
When you were saying with the mental health, one of the things that people always ask me of the numbers that are rising within the game. And a lot of those numbers do come from when you leave the game, because it's something that you've been used to being in around the changing room for so long. And then all
And
of
being
a sudden,
an icon.
And being an icon, and then you come out of that environment, some people don't know how to adjust to life.
And you were an icon, innit? You played at the highest heights.
Yeah, I always say I was fortunate, lucky to go into my coaching straight from playing. So I can't speak on that experience of
You had purpose
when I've
straight
left
away.
the game,
There's
but
nothing
I'm
there.
still in the game. But for others, it is
There's a
difficult.
gap, isn't
There
there?
is
I
a
mean,
gap. Some people don't know how to...
When you finish,
themselves.
not to speak on your behalf, but there is when you've been a footballer or you've played football for such a long time, when it all ends, what ends with that is that structure around you. You know, you need
like
to
the
be
bubble
here.
and
the
there.
fame.
Yeah.
Is the
The
celebrity?
notoriety.
Yeah, it definitely
No
is.
one
And
cares
No
anymore.
one don't want you no
Everyone's
more.
forgotten you.
Everyone
Rejection.
forgets your phone number. I mean,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
on my journey, it's you remember people that was ringing your phone when you was in a certain position.
You can get them free
But
tickets.
I don't forget those that are
Yeah.
not ringing my phone now.
Yeah.
But you know you're going to pick up some people along that way, but you eventually find out who's the ones that are real to you and who ain't. And you know the ones that you've grown up with, they're the ones that are still about. Those ones are going to fall off because ultimately you're not anything for them anymore.
No.
So what's been your biggest moment?
Yeah, we're most proud of.
Achieving the goal of becoming a professional footballer. And topping it off was scoring on my debut. I think every
You want to do
player
that.
is, if you're a centre forward, I want to score on my debut. For me, it wasn't about scoring on my debut, it was about making my debut. And I got that. Getting the goal was just a bonus because I saw it as this
A
is
big
what I-
bonus, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
lost
and
the game
and
too,
that
yeah.
followed as well.
Yeah, I wish it was. If it was 6 months down the line, it would have
Maybe
been
different, yeah.
But it was just making my debut. I've become a professional by signing a contract 3-4 months before that. But the contract's nothing. I was only a reserve player who's a professional player on paper. I'd become a professional footballer once I made my debut. But then in the football world you're not really a first team player until you've played X amount of games.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel that I was a first team player until 2 years down the line when I then became a regular. So it seems weird,
Yeah.
but I achieved my goal, my dream by making my debut, but didn't see myself as professional or first until like 2 years later. when
Made
I
it,
became a
yeah.
regular.
What about internationally?
Again, so at Wimbledon at the time we had this owner called Sam Haman,
Yeah.
and He's a mad guy, nice guy, but a mad guy, Lebanese man. And when Marcus Gale and Robbie Earl started going away with Jamaica from, say, like 96 to sort of start qualifications for the World Cup at 98. At that time, I was, showing my age now, 18.
Everyone's doing maths in there.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So they used to have longer times away because they're travelling halfway around the world, coming back. I'm still paying them and they're coming back late. Right, so what he started doing was the younger players that had dual nationality, you're playing for England. So he's going business head on. You play for England, you get more money for me at the football club.
Yeah.
So for under 20s and under 21s, I represented England. And there was a lot of talk of me representing England at senior level, but it never came through. From my mum's side of the family, being from Barbados, and dad's side Jamaica, it was, right, I do have an opportunity here to go either or. But I was looking at it, well, the stronger nation is Jamaica.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I was waiting for that. I
With
could see where this was going.
With football, please.
So we don't
With football.
Dangerous
With
ground.
football. With football.
With the stronger nation with football.
Don't forget that part. Don't forget that part.
Well, this can be chopped up to suit whatever end goal we need.
If it's cricket now, let's not get started, okay?
At the time, the stronger nation for football was Jamaica, so I chose that route. And being able to go and experience watching a game in Kingston was crazy. Played Haiti in a playoff game, ended up winning, started the qualification. But it took me to get FIFA, for my FIFA to clear everything, to allow me to play. It took from me going out in the August to Jamaica, couldn't play, couldn't train because the insurance official. So I went over in August, went back in September, went back in October, sorry. Finally, it came in November, where the World Cup campaign for that year was, we needed, I think it was 3 points from the last two games. We ended up drawing and losing. So I didn't even manage to play in that World Cup campaign.
Yeah.
And it just sort of went flat like that. And I eventually had a couple more friendlies, which were games over in England. One of them was against Ghana at Leicester, which was a whole different story. But another great experience where you're playing against Ghana, Jamaica, in Leicester. Party atmosphere.
Massive.
Then going up to Old Trafford, where England are preparing for the World Cup, and we end up losing 6-0. So the experience, but just playing at international football, for even at England to even the seniors at Jamaica, just representing at the elite level again. I'm looking at it going, it's things I wanted to achieve, and I was able to do that. And I'll always keep saying it is, this is what I want the people that I work with now to try and achieve. That's my goal. I want them to try and be successful.
Brilliant.
Love it.
Jays, it's been fantastic to hear about all the things that you have done so far. I mean, I'm sure the guys are great. I think you're going to go on to bigger and better things.
Definitely.
And we'll be keeping a close eye on that. But thank you very much for coming to speak to us.
Great to meet you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.